Hello people and welcome to another episode of Fyxshion Reydiou, and today we're going to be talking about a really cool action anime film from the 80s, a classic masterpiece,
legendary,
and its name is Akira. So Dids,
Akira! What? What? Why did I scream? Okay, yeah. Okay. Well,
all right. Dids, can you tell us a little bit about Akira?
Akira. Oh my God! I'm always gonna have the debate about how to specifically say that because of my brain working in Spanish and English. Anyways, Akira, is legendary freaking anime. I would probably say I think it was the first anime to do 24 frames a second, like 24 drawings a second. You can look at the movie up to this day and compare it to like anime movies that are hand drawn, and still like Studio Ghibli movies in the late 2000s still don't compare to the level of animation and drawing in this movie. So anyways, Akira takes place in this futuristic cyberpunk world. This movie released in 1988, and they expected the world to look like this futuristic Final Fantasy X Sanarkand style, but still keeping it like very industrial capitalist looking.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, cyberpunk in a sense. But it's like this movie takes place in the year that we're living in today, actual life right now, today, 2019. It's great that we decided to talk about this now. And it takes place in Neo Tokyo, and it gives kind of like this feel of where the townspeople are trying to take back control of the city in the form of gangs and delinquents. And this movie really touches upon that, with like the fighting faction of the governments and gangs and delinquents and youngsters and rebellions and revolutions. Basically a high city, low city type war, while still presenting a very interesting story that we'll talk about in a minute. While having these whole events in the background, and in a way it's in the background of what the actual story is, but for some reason it doesn't take a backseat. It's like everything is front and center, and it just does it beautifully. And if anything is beautiful, it's this entire movie. Jesus Christ.
Oh, indeed. The level of animation that you mentioned, yeah, this film is beyond. It was way ahead of its time. This was in the 80s, late 80s. And when you see animation like that with anime or Studio Ghibli films, they're not this fluid. You can see even the trailer just by the looks of the towers and the motorcycles and all the laser. There's a lot of colors in this film.
Oh yeah. The use of color is beautiful.
Totally. It's like, wow. The animation was it is still gorgeous today. I was like, at some time in, I think it was this decade. Let's just say this decade. I don't remember when. I did a presentation at university about filming, and I and my colleagues went to like, let's just not make Studio Ghibli be the main thing. Let's look at something else in Japan. So we look up and research what actually was this Akira film and this anime, and we're like, we need to show this to our companions in class, because Studio Ghibli is something, but this is just in another level. And even the teacher was impressed. Yes.
I can say that confidently. It's not my favorite one, but I can definitely say it is the greatest of all time, for sure.
Yeah. It's just in the 80s, and I just like, I just saw so many things in the 80s, such as animation, even Disney, and it's not that fluid as anime, you know, like 24 frames per second. It seems like it's 60 frames at a point.
Yeah,
like,
it's actually, originally they were going to make it 12 frames per second, which at the time, not even Studio Ghibli was fully running their entire movie. Or like most anime studios weren't even running their movies at 12 frames per second.
Exactly.
That's 12 full drawings per second. And then they said, like, you know what? They got the manga artist and the manga writer to take a hiatus from the Akira manga. And they went to work with the studio that was working on the movie for them. And then they decided, hey, this looks good, but let's do 24 drawings per second.
Exactly.
And it's like a 2-hour movie. I don't think if it passes the 2-hour mark, but I do know it's almost 2 hours. It's definitely more than 1 hour 45.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. It's a film.
Yeah, it is a full-on film.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, and apparently, I remember. I love this movie, and if you watch this movie, you are definitely gonna want to talk about theories and conspiracy theories, mainly theories about the universe, and it's because it is a mind fuck. But working after this movie, the manga artist and writer, they apparently got so motivated off of this movie that it completely changed the plan that they had towards where they were going to take the manga originally. Because the movie, if you look up the entire manga run right now, the movie only takes up till about 1/3 of what actually happens in the entire manga story. And it does take like a different turn. There is a point near the end that it completely goes like another way that's not what the manga does. So it does have a different ending because it's a movie. You know,
exactly.
They can't do like a Red Rose type thing where they just release let's do a freaking 8-hour movie and split it into 4 2-hour films and release it all at the same time.
Yeah, this is not Kill Bill.
Exactly. That was some confusing ass shit. I don't know why I was a little kid. I still didn't know how films worked exactly. I don't know what happened in my brain, but for some reason releasing at the same time, or maybe it was like less than a year apart, Volume 1, Volume 2, confused the shit out of me. Because people would be like, let's just watch Kill Bill. No one would say Volume 2. No one said Volume 2 or Volume 1. They just said, let's go watch Kill Bill.
Exactly.
And I think I watched the second one first, so that was confusing as shit.
So yeah, and indeed, these people avoided that. So I would totally give them props for just like, let's just make an adaptation, but let's make it a different way for film. And I totally love that from the director and everyone else, because what I see is just really positive things about this movie. There's a what was the other thing that? Hold on, keep on talking, Dids. Let me find what was I thinking.
Yeah. So with this movie, it's just insane. Like I said earlier, nothing in this movie takes a backseat. Like there is like purely different storylines.
Totally.
And I've seen this movie like 20 times. To honestly, like it's probably my most watched movie of all time. And I'm not saying you should go watch it, but it is posted on YouTube for free with subtitles in multiple languages.
I think it's already dubbed in every language in the world.
It definitely has to be because of how freaking famous it is.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like the most viewed anime movie of all time. Because it is just like referenced for everyone. Everyone could probably use Akira as influence. I would be surprised if people like go and say like Akira had nothing to do with our anime that they made. I would be in shock if someone had asked them that and they would say no. But yeah, you can never, at least me personally, I can never see this movie and react the same way, because there's so many ways to view this movie. Like I did mention, nothing takes a backseat. Sorry for being redundant about that, but there are multiple ways that you can watch this movie, and everything has so much that you could see the same scene in one mindset and connect it to one storyline, but then a couple of months later you could see that scene again and connect it to a different storyline.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ. And when you look at all the storyline, there's the conspiracy theories, there's the psychics, there's the how did people become psychic, how are they learning to replicate this, then there's the love story between oh my god, Kaneda K, and then there's the story of camaraderie between all their friend groups. That's Kaneda K, Tetsuo, and a couple of other people, I don't remember their names right now specifically, that are in their gang, I guess you could say. So you could see it as a conspiracy theory movie, you could see it as a sci-fi movie, you could see it as a love movie, you could see it as a friendship movie, you could see it as a social critique movie by seeing this whole low class versus high class type war, and you could also see it as a revolution movie with the type of revolting against an unjust government. They present so many things in this world. They build this world so insanely good and so perfectly that, again, as I said, I can't watch this movie and see it the same way twice, because my mind is just starts thinking about one thing a little bit more, and then it just follows that thread while watching the movie, and it's amazing.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing that it inspired video games and movies that are from the 90s and today's type of sci-fi movies. This film inspired a lot of people, such as Hideo, the creator of Metal Gear,
Kojima-san.
Yeah, the Kojima-san, and it has inspired the Wachowski brothers in Matrix. This is
oh yeah, definitely.
It's just like, this movie is revolutionary at its, Akira is like the how do I say it, because I don't want to sound like it's a type of Star Wars type of film of inspiration. It's like Star Wars did inspire a lot of other films. At the same time that Akira also inspired other films. Even Star Wars universe got inspired by Akira at the same time. So you could tell that Akira, even though this is really big. I'm like reading right now some articles like this movie, like
oh
yes,
boy.
I was like, oh my gosh, this, and even the inspired Ghost in the Shell and Battle Angel Alita, which is right now Alita Battle Angel. But yeah, this is more like a cyberpunk type of thing, which I love cyberpunk. My name is Zyberpunky, of course.
Hell yeah. And it also has like a lot of also from Star Wars.
Yes.
I also feel like it does relate a little more to, I don't know if you recognize this story that I'm bringing up, but there is a story. It's also a video game released in 1995, but the story is from like 1967, I think. It's by Harlan Ellison. It's called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And it really relates to like this whole cyberpunk world, but then it doesn't bring like psychics or androids or anything like that into it. It's just like a supercomputer that decides to take over the world because he's pissed off that he's this basically a human brain, but he's trapped inside a computer.
Nice. Wow, that's interesting to watch.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I won't go into detail. There is a lot more that before the story starts to explain, but we're not talking about that one. But anyways, I really feel like whenever I first learned about I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, and after I've rewatched Akira, it really took me on. That's where I like. I needed to read I Have No Mouth to like unlock something in my brain's skill trees. And then I watched Akira, and with this new unlocked acquired skill, I was like, holy shit. This is really similar to this. This is amazing. Just throw psychics into it. It's freaking insane. It's really, really interesting, and how it messes with like this way of altering the human body to be able to access different parts of our brain, different abilities that we have. It's crazy. Like one of the main characters, main character turned anti-hero, Tetsuo.
Yeah, Tetsuo.
And not Tetsuo the Iron Man or the Bullet Man.
You're right. Yeah, come on.
Please don't look those movies up. That's a graphic trigger warning. If you're easily triggered or scared, please don't look up Tetsuo the Iron Man. But Tetsuo and Akira, like his character arc is insane. And honestly, you could see any of these, like anywhere in the like the triangle of main characters, you could look at the movie with any of them as the focused main characters and watch a completely different movie. So seeing it from Tetsuo's perspective, you have this kid who's been abused. He's never really been acknowledged by higher ups, mostly just by his peers, returning to this level of camaraderie. But at the same time, he does have like this arrogant self where he sometimes acts like an asshole towards his friends. But he then like learns he does still have respect towards them, but then he has this disdain of how the government is acting towards his economical class, the low class society in that world, in Neo Tokyo. And the fact that they completely pick him up, like screw his entire life, nobody needs to know where he's gone, and he starts getting experimented on. And the way that this affects him and how he develops throughout the movie, meeting characters that are espers or ESP users for people that play Final Fantasy and confuse them. Anyways, he goes through these developments and slowly diving into insanity within himself and misunderstanding his intentions, and how he slowly, this entire thing just drives him insane. It really does look like it really is the type of anime that you could see in different ways. So like with Tetsuo's point of view, you have like the more psychological intense point of view.
Indeed.
And with Kaneda, you have like the action type thing, while also delving in like a little bit of conspiracy theory here. Like you could focus on anyone in this movie. Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
So like every character in this film has a unique development. They are in the same film, but as like you said, they have these different type of background life. This film is very, very human and also violent. So just a heads up, this is a violent film. It's very adult. This is no cartoon.
Oh yeah, this is not a movie for kids. I hate it when people say that anime is for kids. I'm like, hell no.
No.
No. Akira, I love it because it's very
it's very mature. It's very mature.
Yes, it is very mature, and it kind of pioneers in how it doesn't. It's not. I love how it pioneers in anime, at least, how you can be mature without the need of exaggerating your matureness.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
like it does have a little bit of body horror in a sense,
Yes,
but
yes.
it doesn't over exaggerate it like a lot of other mature animes did at the time. You know, it didn't have to be a gore fest to be a mature movie. It was mainly for like the topics that it was tackling. And another film that did that very well that I recommend to anyone is Perfect Blue. I don't know if you've seen that one, but I would love to do a episode of that one someday.
Look for that.
Yeah, and then just so that everyone's clear, if you haven't watched the movie, I recommend that you watch it. But we don't see Akira is a character in this universe, but we don't get to see Akira unless you read the manga.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yep.
Unless you see the manga,
Legit.
you ain't gonna see no Akira. But this movie is definitely, oh my god.
And the music in this film.
Oh, the music. Not just music, the sound design.
Yeah,
all the sounds in this movie is
gosh.
amazing. For all the sound effects for cars, vehicles, ambience, the wind.
It's just,
When have you ever heard a wind that you're like, holy shit, that wind sounds amazing? That happens to me every time I see Akira. It's like, holy Jesus, that
Yes.
entire sound design team. If anyone told me to pick like who I want to make like the greatest movie of all time, what I think would be like my greatest movie of all time, I would definitely say, Akira, get me the animation team and the sound design team from that movie. And then we'll talk about who else is here and there, who's acting, who's directing, who's producing this and that, whatever. But from Akira, props off. They did like the best job in that movie. The freaking sound design team.
Yeah,
that is, oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah. Man, and we cannot forget this was back on the 80s.
1988. This movie took, I believe it was 2.5 years, and the original manga writer and artists were only part of it for, I think, the last year producing the movie. So most of this was without them, and it's amazing that it is, because I haven't finished the manga, but I definitely read past where the movie goes. And man, it is faithful, and I could definitely say from adaptations from manga to anime.
Oh yeah, definitely this one is.
Oh, just give it the crown. Jesus Christ.
It's just like we're fanning out, but we're actually telling a very solid truth, because we've seen a lot of anime, like you and me did. I've seen a lot, and even films, and for it to be based in the 80s, it was very hard back then. And like you can see today's type of film and adaptations, they're not as good. You know, I try to just like a film, and I'm like, okay, it does have some flaws, and it has this and that, but I still like it, and I still like give it a chance. But you know, they have the technology that we have today. You know, today and age, the film form today. But back then, they only had like piece of paper, pen, and the computers were dinosaurs. Like, it's not like the computers we have today. Like, I can see the effort.
And Akira was, I believe Akira was 100% hand drawn.
Hand drawn, exactly.
So it's not even like computers. Like the only thing they did in the computer was put everything, you know, in order.
In order, yeah. That's
like, yeah, like everything in that movie is hand drawn. Just leave it to that. No CGI bullshit.
Exactly.
No computer layer or effects or anything like that. No. Hell no.
Yeah.
This is pure sweat and blood with your fingertips.
Exactly. Yeah. is that heart and effort that those people went back in the days, and you see the quality today. I'm not going to criticize, you know, the people who actually draw, which is, you know, Studio Ghibli still do that, and other type of studios. But man, at the level of Akira, it's just amazing when, you know, like, a lot of people today just don't make that kind of effort because the computer does everything for you, and I miss that kind of thing. And Akira is a very good example of getting the animation done well with a nice story, development from characters, the music, like.
I said earlier, Studio Ghibli, late 2000s is crazy.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's I'm really speechless about this film, because once I watched it, I only watched it twice because of that class, because that class just made me like, man, we need to get off the, you know, Studio Ghibli, because I know that the teacher is a Studio Ghibli Hayao Miyazaki fan, so let's just, you know, show this to the class and let's just watch it. And we loved it, man. We just like, man, this, how did it even win? Because the awards, it doesn't have a lot of awards.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to think about it. Like, at the time, it released in 1988. When it was supposed to receive awards, it's like, anime was looked down upon, especially with the fact that it had a mature rating on it.
Yeah, totally mature. Yeah, it wasn't Disney.
Yeah, so yeah, like at the time, anime with mature ratings were definitely like into the lower rung of what
it was the underdog. That's
yeah, like everyone saw anime as like this kid-friendly type thing. So those are like animes that really stood out at the time. So,
and we can talk about the action of this in this game, in this anime film. The action in this anime is just top notch. It's just gorgeously shot. Wow, it's just, man.
It is insane. And those final scenes.
Oh God.
Jesus. Jesus.
You could feel like the 80s type of thing, like it's basically Terminator with Back to the Future mixed with Ghost in the Shell, Alita, every kind of sci-fi that but better in one.
I would dare to say a lot of those famous sci-fis are influenced by Akira.
Exactly. Even Blade Runner. Now that I think of it, Blade Runner was one of the got influenced by Akira. Like, damn, this. I just want a film just like this one today, fully drawn. It's
fully
I know
drawn,
it's hard.
24 frames a second.
24 frames, yes. I know it's hard because it's very freaking hard to just like draw.
I mean, you could say it's hard for sure, but think about budget Akira had versus what kind of budget anime movies get today. Imagine if you got rest in peace to those that haven't made it to this day, but imagine the original Akira team getting picked up with like a modern day budget of an anime movie.
Oof.
And with the technology of now, it's like, oh shit. But then you go back to the original and it has this masterpiece quality. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, A+.
Yeah.
Almost nothing can top, nothing that I have watched tops this movie in anime. Hell,
exactly.
and even sci-fi.
Correct, yeah.
Even sci-fi or Zyberpunk. Nothing can top this movie.
There's a lot of cyberpunk films out there, but nothing compares to Akira. And yeah, you could tell because it's a film based in the 80s, but it's based today. It was created in the 80s, but it's based today, and it's kind of like creepy in a way because we're supposed to be like that today, in a sense. Yeah. And it's like, Wow, this was actually like very futuristic, and I really like the 80s type of feelings that everything was very laser and future and cyberpunk and all those, and the motorcycles and the flying cars and all that thing. I just love it, and Akira is just the perfect film for that kind of, you know, feeling. If you want to feel 80s, go watch this film.
Yeah.
It is very 80s. All right. We have reached the 30 minutes, so we can still do another part of Akira. There's a lot more to talk about. I still need to rewatch it to, you know, to be in the same level.
If you want to do another one, I would definitely say let's just do a rewatch. Let's do a rewatch. Refresh everything a little bit. It has been about 2 years since I've seen it. So I would definitely love to do a rewatch. I just researched and like wanting to talk about this because I heard someone talking about it in like a video on YouTube, and I'm like, damn. And then my mind just went. So
yeah, fully. Okay, a second part definitely coming in on Fyxshion Reydiou. So yeah, guys, please stay tuned. Please don't forget to favorite, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for supporting the channel. This has been Zyberpunky.
And Dids.
And we'll see you guys later.
Farewell.